Then something happened whereby that changed. And, what was the key factor that changed the momentum to allow the funding to be put in place when it had been paid only on a monthly basis? And I think everybody involved in sport or in any funding stream will accept that if you're operating on a month-by-month basis, it is virtually impossible to plan. So it wasn't in anybody's interests, I would have said, from a sporting point of view and the management of the Athletics Association, that it was only paid on a month-by-month basis. So something happened along the way that changed their view and that allowed them to commit to the full tranche. So
a lot of it was we would have had a pretty good idea based on what everybody else was actually getting, what the funding was going to be, what the outturn was going to be. We had a pretty good idea. There's going to be a certain percentage drop for everybody, and the high performance, there was very, very little of an actual drop for us. So we had a general idea, but we needed to get clarity ourselves. They did have issues with us, and they wanted to bring us in and discuss these issues. Quite clearly, they had
issues, though. That's the bit I'm trying to establish.
I mean, the Sports Council would need to go and say what the particular specific issues actually were.
They told you what they were.
There wasn't absolute clarity from A to Z what they were.
Were you not challenging this each time? Because
that's exactly, Deputy, through the Chair, exactly what we did do. I mean, as soon as going back again to base principles in this, a couple of days before the announcement of the grants, we were told we were not going to be included at this stage, that they wanted to have some discussions with us around some issues. And immediately following that, I reported back to the board. We went and we discussed with the Sports Council, and we continued to discuss. We got the high performance sorted out very, very quickly, which was a key issue for the athletes, that they would know exactly what their position would be vis-a-vis their plans and for training camps and the various things. We had people who were going to be going to warm weather training, going to various things. That was the critical thing. That was put to bed. We had a fairly good idea what the core grant was actually going to be. We didn't know exactly what it was. So we went and we worked through that. And of course, it did take a bit of time to get through the whole thing. And we actually convinced them. And unfortunately, it took 2 months to actually get it across to them, to get absolute clarity on it, and that came through in the last couple of weeks. It was a case of negotiating with them. I don't think that there's. Chairman, I wouldn't read anything particularly sinister myself into the reason as to why they may not have actually given it to us. They just felt that the general issues with us, the general issues that were out in the media, the various things that were there.
No coincidence with your discussions with the CEO on resignation, or?
I would say genuinely, I would say there were no. That was not an issue at all. Okay. This was got to do with us getting clear. We were also in deep discussions, incidentally, with them regarding some issues we have ourselves around the European Cross-Country Championships, for which they had kindly given us a general agreement 2 years ago when we were planning for this, because we needed to get clarification from a number of key stakeholders. We needed to get clarification from RTE, which is absolutely critical, which they came completely on board. We thank them profusely for that, because even in their straitened circumstances, they're putting 150,000 or something into the event, which is absolutely colossal. And the Irish Sports Council made their commitment. We needed to make sure that they were going to confirm that commitment to us, which they duly did. In fact, we're actually trying to negotiate with them for additional funding at this stage towards that particular event as well. So there have been lots of discussions at different levels with them on different issues, and they do take a bit of time to get to actually work through.
Chairman, I just want to put it on the record that based on that response, I've absolutely no idea why the Sports Council didn't commit to the money in the first part of the year. I'm no wiser, but thank you for the reply. But I just want to put it on the record that I have absolutely no idea what the response means.
Okay,
Deputy the Sports Council actually said was they were sorry, first of all, the Sports Council got dragged into internal disputes because of its role in bringing about good corporate governance in organisations, and I think they were talking obviously about AAI. And then it goes on to say the Irish Sports Council has to drive the development of sport, and when sport is not on the agenda, it causes problems. The ISC is trying to get the AAI to put sport on the agenda. Now, I think the point and the word on the street is that your funding was reinstated when you agreed to get rid of your CEO by whatever reason. Now, whether there's truth in that or not, but maybe you'd like to comment.
I'd like to put on the record that is absolutely incorrect. I would unequivocally state that's absolutely incorrect, because I've been deeply involved in all the issues, complex in all that they are, and very, very difficult issues that we're actually working through to try and resolve and for the betterment of the sport. And they are difficult times, as I keep on reiterating. And of course, unfortunately, the main focus, which is quite clear because of the previous two meetings, seem to be centring around the same thing. And of course, it's a hugely important, it's an important personal thing, and it's important for the sport. It's hugely important for us as we move forward, that we learn from the various processes, the mistakes that we might have made, the mistakes that other people might have made, and maybe other organisations, that we can all learn from this. But I can say categorically here, the board has only one agenda, and that is the development of the sport of athletics in Ireland. And one of the things that Laura O'Sullivan mentioned there, and a huge issue for us, is we have a simple policy of trying to maximise resources on the island of Ireland for the benefit of all the athletes in Ireland. We have made massive progress working with Athletics Northern Ireland to that aim in recent times, to the extent that the colossal progress regarding the general integration of facilities, funding and various other resources between the Irish Sports Council, Sport Ireland and the various other bodies, Coaching Ireland, which is an all-Ireland body now. We're doing colossal work in that whole area, and I would hate if arising from this that could be construed that the whole negativity might be around, quite clear it's a difficult issue, around the CEO, that might negative all the other issues and all the other work that's actually being done.
Can I just add that, and Laura from Murrahoo alleged or said about it as well, about how disjointed the sport of athletics was in its approach for political reasons and many other reasons for many years historically. Only within the last few years has the Board of Athletics Ireland been able to pull all the elements within the sport of athletics together as one unit. The universities are within the sport, the schools are within the sport, Athletics Northern Ireland are within the sport, and this is the first time after possibly 100 years, only within the last couple of years, have we been able to work on the island of Ireland as one unit for the good of the sport of athletics. And we're continuing to work through that, and we're working through that in a very positive manner with everybody on side. And that has been very positive for the sport, and that has to be put on the record, because that was hard work. That was serious hard work. People had a lot of serious political ideas and background in the sport, and obviously within the last few years, only within the last few years, we have now achieved that, and that has to certainly go on the record as a very positive